Welcome to Music as a Day Job. I'm your host, Sean, and Music as a Day Job is brought to you by the Concert app. The Concert app is an artist accelerator app that takes artists from opener to headliner to on tour and gives the fan the best experience in live independent music. So today's question was, should I make a single or an album? Should I do singles or albums? And now me and my business partner disagree in this a lot of times. I think sometimes we see it like, however, I'm just gonna take my opinion. I could be wrong. If you probably go talk to people in the industry, they might tell you something different. So just take it as my opinion. If you like it, do it. If you don't like it, do the other one. You know what I'm saying? Um, Singles versus albums. Today, I feel personally that people's um, attention span is very short. And so when people's attention span is very short, they aren't going to give enough attention to an entire project unless you have a specific way you're going to release this project that's different than anything else. So the creativeness built around the album then has to be at a different level. So what I mean by that is like you see how Kanye when he did that the last album I think he released and he did all that like those weird shows and those buildings and those like listening parties and stuff like that. Like if you're really willing to go far with the content, you could possibly get somebody to catch on to a full project. Now, this does take like if you're going to do tons of random songs and put them together and call it an album, don't do it. Just don't do an album. But if you're going to sit here and be meticulous with like how this album's going to release and what's everything around it, and it doesn't cost a lot of money. You don't have to do what Kanye's and Drake's do. All you have to do really is just be very what do they how do they say? You have to have an intent to basically create something that stands out comparative to everyone just dropping albums. Cause see, it's hard enough for even big artists to get albums off the ground because the songs on the album get like overlooked, and it may have been some great music on there, so it gets overlooked because it's so much content to so much let me see, so much monotonous content because it's just songs. It's monotonous content that isn't delivered in a way that's creative. So what I would say to people who are trying to release albums, start coming up with how you're gonna do this content. Like if this album you definitely want to do listen parties. Maybe you do listen parties with concepts that tie to this album. You want to do tons of content tied to this album, content tied to the songs and stuff like that. Like so people can want to listen to the whole piece. Make it an understanding that you almost have to like you almost want to listen to the whole piece of work, the whole body of work because it's one storyline or one feeling or whatever this is. You know what I'm saying? So then I think that's the only way to make people tolerate the full album at one time. I do live on the side of singles. I like the idea of sending out one song, putting all the content around it that needs to be put around it, let people digest it, send out the next. And that's because people are in a day and age where they almost like it's kind of like podcasts. Like people listen to books like podcasts now. So they digest it so quick. It's one length real quick. It's not turning the page. It's one page, one page, one page, one page. Like when you're reading a book, it's almost like songs on an album. One, two, three, four, five. When you listen to it in podcast form, it's just straight through one line. Very similar ideas here. Um, so I just feel that if you do the singles, you have the chance to let people go like, oh, I like this one. Then they might like, but then the downside, of course, to doing this is that if I don't like one and you're looking for new fans, if I don't like one, then I might not give you a second listen. because the other stuff isn't available. So that's the downside to it. But I give myself a better shot because I just feel like I have the opportunity to, because of my resume, I have the opportunity to get your ear again. That's what me personally. That's just how I feel. It might not be true. But I feel if I give you one piece, one piece, one piece, you can pick between, and then I can just keep going. Versus me giving you all of it, calling it something, and then everything gets discounted other than the one or two singles that everyone is already kind of talking about. You see what I'm saying? So that's the way I go if I'm going to create music. I personally feel like you can create the album and not call it album. I kind of feel like album is like a restriction of how music had to be sold in the past. So then people have to make albums because it actually, I personally don't think there's any logic to it. Maybe there is to why people do that, because I think it was kind of like because it was on a CD or a tape or something or a record, you have to give people their money's worth. So for you to charge $20 for this CD, it made sense to have 20 songs on there. So then people got their money's worth. And then so now I don't see, with the use of like TikTok, Instagram, everything like that, you might as well just do singles. That's how I feel, because it's like people aren't buying albums. People aren't even buying the music really. So it's like you can put it out how you want, when you want, around what content you want and how you want to do it. So it can be one album idea, but the content would be spread, and you can get the same piece or same body of work, but just spread over time. That's me personally. So I don't know if it's like if that's way like, if that's wrong. If anyone at the bottom, you should leave a comment if you think people could, if you think the opposite, like if you think albums are more potent or whatever like that. A lot of times when I see people that say like albums are better, they're usually older. You know what I'm saying? Like older than 30, and so that's because they grew up with the CDs and stuff like that, and so they respect that. However, the younger kids, I don't think they do the same way, because when they were growing up, it was like iPods. So then they're like from iPods forward, and then so they already see it in that form. But then, as I said, like some young people are going to like it because a lot of like old school stuff is like trending. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're like souvenirs type things, like things you want to keep. So then like that style could possibly be like the album style could come back, I guess you could say. But I just don't feel that the majority of people have a attention span that would just sit there and listen to albums, because the crazy thing is, me growing up, that's all I did. So then by the time I got like one of my first album that I bought was Machiavelli, which probably no one, like if you're young listening to this, you're probably like, what's Machiavelli? You know what I'm saying? Like you're like he's old. My first album was Machiavelli when I was a kid. So uh you sat and listened to the whole album consistently. You know what I'm saying? Like the entire album, front to back, all the time. You know what I'm saying? So, um, it's different because now I won't listen to a full album. Like you can hate on, but I don't. And it's not just that, because some people be like, well, the music's bad now. No, it's been for a while that I won't listen to an album. It's been a long time. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like after the CD phase, it started dying down for me. My homie's like, as my business partner, he's a little older than me. He still listens to albums though. Like he'll drive and play like a full album straight through, and I just can't do it. Like I can't do it anymore. Now the way content is released, if you would have released it one by one, then I probably would have listened to the whole thing, which is weird. But that's like how content is like fed to people. So it's like I think, and I feel like it's an upper hand because, as I said, I get more chance for you to listen to all the pieces of the song, all the body of work, versus in that format than I do when I put it all in one, because I can do all the promotion up to it. I can get you excited and I can get your attention for that 3 minutes a day. And you'll give each one 3 minutes. But if I told you, give me 40 minutes Right now, you're going to be like, oh, I ain't got time for that. You see what I'm saying? Which the logic is still the same because I'm still going to get 40 minutes from you over time. But what you're going to see it in is you're going to be like, oh, it's 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes. It's 3 minutes versus 40 minutes right now. So I just feel like singles is the way to go personally. That's my choice. Take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? Once again, this music is a day job. I'm your host, Sean. It's brought to you by the Concert app. Now, the Concert app, once again, is in Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and Nevada. We're trying to get to everyone's state. Trying to get to everyone's state. So if you're an artist in any other state right now, or even if you're an artist in the states you are, we're trying to build more in the states you are. So then we're trying to get to all the cities in all these states. If you're in those states, hit me. You know what I'm saying? Tell everybody, get on the app because we're starting to do shows in your state. If you're not in those states and you're in another state, tell all the artists, get on the app so we can have some demand so we can get out there quicker. If you know any venues, it helps. That makes it easy for me to get into those venues once again. With music as a day job, please comment, like, and subscribe. I'm trying to get this out to everybody so everybody can learn how to turn music into a day job. Once again, this music is a day job. I'm Sean. It's brought to you by the Concert app.